Y'all are. Okay, all right. I want to welcome everybody to the May 6, 2025 work session. It's 5:02. If I can get approval of the agenda at this time.
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
I have it. Tonight's work session is a State Place Cemetery discussion, and I'm glad everybody's here. We get a lot of input and whatnot. And before we start, there's two things I've confirmed before we get started so we can have discussion on. There's 30 cemetery graves that are still in the landfill that's going to have to be moved. That's talking with Tiffany. They're going to have to be moved because it's trying to get with the state to retire our landfill. They're going to have to be moved, and we can't. It's trying to redo our application to retire our landfill. Is going to be kind of throw a wrench in it. So there's 30 graves that are in the landfill going to have to be moved, and y'all need to consider a new entrance starting in on this project so that we can come in straight off of Overland Road. There's a perfect place to put it between the old section and the new that we just cleaned up. That way we can close off there's two wells we've got to protect that are in this, that border this cemetery for the state to come in and do the testing on. So, Mr. Resner, you want to start us off? And I want to give y'all just a heads up on two things that were brought to my attention here.
Yes, sir. So there are handouts here on the table if any of you don't have these yet, and this is part of the report that came back when we had the area surveyed with ground penetrating radar, and so it shows all of the known graves on the property there, and I believe we ended up somewhere around 800 total burial sites there. The small black X's are unmarked graves, and then those that are marked are a rectangle there. You'll see most of them are in that concentrated area there. There are some areas on other parts of the property that don't have a lot of graves that are still open, and the board has been actively looking at what to do with this property going forward, and so if a county wants to transfer ownership of property to another entity, there are certain steps that state law requires. So the county can't simply decide that they want to transfer to a particular person. It has to go through a bid or proposal process, or be done by auction. And so if there's a group or groups out there, or churches or cemetery operators that would be interested in the parcel, the board could issue an RFP that considers a number of different factors in that, and various groups could submit proposals that cover. You can certainly cover a price for the parcel. Chairman mentioned relocating graves. That could be a portion of those proposals. History of the area, history operating cemeteries, that type of thing could all be factors that the board could consider in a process like that. And so that's something that I don't want to speak on behalf of the board there, but my understanding is that we're actively working towards that, but did want to get the input of the community as we work through that process, and give interested groups an opportunity, give them ample time to gather what information might be needed for that. So in this package, you've got three things. There's sort of this drawing. The second one is an aerial image, and I'm happy to send the link for this to anyone that's interested. But you can go in and click on the individual parcels or burial spots and get whatever information was gathered during this process. So that's a printout from that, the second page there. And then the third page is just an aerial showing the site. This aerial does show there's an area over east in this picture, close to Overland Way, that we did have cleared and surveyed kind of later on in the process. That's an area where there are not many graves currently. You'll see just a few scattered out through that area on the first page there. But anyway, that's about all I have, Chairman. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any comment from the board? If not, we've got a citizen, one citizen sure come in. You want to start with the citizen question?
Yeah.
Reverend, you want to come forward?
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's Wilbur Green, pastor, New Methodist Baptist Church. I guess the question is, why? What's the purpose? Why? Because a lot of people who thought about this, well, they were rejoicing because they believe, the people I talked to, I have some people in the church, have people that was, they were under the understanding that the problem was solved in a way, and they were rejoicing. And matter of fact, I came back and praised you for what you had done. Now, I kind of want to take it back a little bit. In a way, why are we considering ownership change when it was given by Walker Pitts for a specific purpose? Why? I guess that's the thing. Is it money wise? I mean, it wasn't is it the cost?
No, sir, and I can answer that a little bit. So the property was deeded for indigent burials, meaning pauper burials, people that could not afford or did not have insurance to be buried. And that was the only way that the county can have is a pauper burial. The counties cannot own and operate cemeteries by buying and selling plots and it's a gratuity to allow you to bury somebody in a property if you've got means to do it otherwise. Otherwise, we have to open up to the county and let everybody be buried there. So it was designed for a pauper's burial. What has happened in the past are, and this is evidenced by some elaborate headstones, that there are not pauper burials or indigent burials there. These are people that are paying for people to be buried there and put headstones and all that. While we support that 1,000%, legally, the county can't allow for burials for people that have the means to be buried. So we can't give away burial plots, I guess is the easiest way. We're not in the cemetery business.
So it's money wise.
No, it's a legality. I mean, we legally can't allow that if it's not an indigent burial.
So if somebody want to bury, then you charge. Just for instance, like not Baker Gray, Cedar Gray, they charge $250 to bury beside First Baptist, and when we bought plots from them to bury their side First Baptist, well, probably 4 plots. I know from my brother-in-law's, and I guess. Why are they able to do it and the county's not able to do it?
So is that an indigent cemetery?
I'm not sure.
I think the fact that they're incorporated and City of Gray's incorporated, the City of Gray's incorporated. We're not incorporated. Give you proof that City of Gray could, not that they're gonna do it, but they got the ability to bankrupt. The counties can't bankrupt. So I'm thinking, my thoughts is the City of Gray can do it. I just know it was brought up several times, even with our attorney, that we cannot let people legally bury in this because it's a pauper's grave, like Commissioner. This gives us an opportunity. Let's just say, all the churches around Gray want to come together and say, we want to put an RFQ together on this so that we can preserve it. That would give the opportunity to do this, to preserve this. And Commissioner Kissinger, if you want to take off, you were on, I didn't mean to,
No, I think for people to be buried there for indigent purposes, so if somebody is not have the ability
Right.
to be buried, that is perfectly fine, perfectly legal. What we found, though, is people are being buried, and I'm gonna put a lot of the blame on the funeral homes, because they're not contacting the county. Somebody has a loved one pass away, the funeral home just says, oh yeah, we know a spot out here in a cemetery, we'll do it, we'll open the ground, we'll lay your loved ones to rest, and we'll bury them back. You can order a headstone or a marker with us, we'll go out and put it in there. As a county, that can't happen. Now, if they said, we don't have the means to bury our loved ones here, then the loved ones can be buried there. But there's a process for it, for the funeral homes to contact the county and say, we've got John Smith that does not have, the family does not have means, doesn't have insurance, none of that. It's a pauper burial. He needs to be buried, or she needs to be buried in this spot. That's perfectly legal and fine. And that's what the intent of the cemetery was for. We've learned now that we have people that have loved ones buried there that have the means to be buried elsewhere. And if we legally can't do it, I said this in one of the other meetings, I'll never vote that man, woman, grandfather, grandchild, whatever, if you have a loved one that's buried somewhere, it's not, my opinion, it's not our place to say you can't be buried next to your loved one. That's just wrong. But we've got that situation here where,
Well, I believe that what has happened is that was not related to the funeral homes, and I know one thing was said that somebody was selling lots. That was not the case with the people who I talked with, the funeral homes that I talked with. But the case is that it's one of those things where it was always done like that, and nobody knew not to do it like that. So therefore, I don't know whether you could say it's somebody's problem or somebody's fault, but they were just doing what had been really passed down to them. So they weren't doing it as on purpose. They were doing it because what was told them and nobody never stopped them up to now. Even through the cleaning of the cemetery, one of your own, my cousin Ulysses Knight, Beaver, was doing it, and all of a sudden now it is like it's a problem for that cemetery. And I guess there's some things who a grandfather did, there's some things that you don't touch, there's some things that are personal to people. And this is one of them things. There's some things that you can't bring me to tell. We have some people at the church, you can't bring me to tell people to know about certain things, about something, because just heart comes in. And it looks like to some, especially some older, this woman right here, my mother told her, said, she could no longer go with me and be with me. And while she was yet alive, she told this woman here, said, you take care of him, and you be with him, and make sure you be a mother to him. And when she died, she continues that to this day. Well, she's just buried her husband out there. And to put her in a place, and there's not just her, there's a lot of people, to put her in a place, it not only hurts her, it hurts me to even consider that it may, I know you say it won't happen that way, but in some kind of way, that it may prevent her, because one day she would want to be laid to rest beside him as well. And this what we're doing now may prevent. I have one brother out there, my oldest brother, and my wife's father is there. That would prevent, her from feeling how many years, 50 or 60 years of them planning to do this. And I think somewhere in the midst, we're missing the point of people's hearts, people's feelings, and I know we're going, and I know sometimes it has to hurt, but it has to play that we care, because to a lot of people it seems like you don't care, and you can say it all day, but
Yeah.
actions projects, and that's what I'm getting. It projects. They don't care. And I'll tell you what they said. They're just gonna do what they want to do.
well,
And-
Pastor, and I don't mean to cut you off, and I agree 100%. I honestly believe that what we're doing is making sure that we don't ever prevent that.
Right.
Because right now, feelings, heart, no feelings, the law is the law. And because it was done something, it can be grandfathered in up to the point you know about it, and you find out that it's not the law. But the law don't allow you to do something, continue to do something just because it's grandfathered in. The law says that we, as a county, can't offer burial sites to people for free. That's a gratuity, and that is illegal, and that's what's been happening to people that can't afford it. We're trying to right a wrong, just like you said, it's been done that way forever, and the law says it's wrong, so we have to fix that, which is, and our intent is to provide this space. If churches or whoever else wanted to take over this property, it would have to be under the legal binding contract that it is in perpetuity, and that it has to be kept in the same way that it is now, that we can't do as a county.
Okay, that's my weakness, a wordless. Can I get a wordless? They kept looking, they.
I may be wrong.
I'll give you a case of.
Yeah, don't do that. That's kind
When you deprive a
of.
can-
I was trying to listen. I not heard anything you said.
That's what that squirrel moment here.
You saw me looking over there. I was, yeah. But my point is, what I'm hearing, you can't do it for free.
We can't.
We can't be in the business.
I mean, I keep hearing you can't do it for free, but what if it wasn't for free?
We still can't.
We can't own it and operate it for payment.
It's a fine line, but, I mean, just imagine this, Commissioner Kitchens. What if all the churches got together and said, we're going to take over the cemetery, doing an RFP with this board? Think about it. It could be preserved however you wanted to do it. We can't do that. That's what Commissioner.
I want to be real clear about something, Chairman. The county can do it, but not in a pauper cemetery, not in a cemetery that was given to the county for indigent care. So if the county bought property and wanted to go into the cemetery business, that wouldn't, but that's an enterprise fund. It's totally different than a pauper's burial. So you can't give away land that was given to you for indigent burials. And that's the whole problem we got right now. We have a mix of the two. There's cemeteries in Bibb County right now where they sell plots for, but that's a revenue stream and an expenditure stream. And there's perpetual care for the cemetery that's involved. There's upkeep of the grave sites. You can have private grave sites where you maintain your own grave site. You can have the one in Bibb County has the memorial for soldiers in there that the county maintains. But they sell those. It's still a business that you take in money and you spend money on maintenance. That's not what this property is. This property is indigent. It was given for indigent burials, and that's where we've gotten away from the indigent burials and gotten into where I don't know on our side. We don't know whether somebody's paying a funeral home for services or not, but it appears that there are headstones out there that an indigent burial would not, if they're not able to afford.
They could afford
So
a
that's
burial.
that's the problem we're having, is indigent burials versus traditional burials. And that doesn't even include whether it's a burial or a cremation or anything like that, or getting into religious beliefs or cultures or anything like that, because that is just the difference between a traditional burial and an indigent burial, that you can't afford it or can't afford it. And that's what the property was donated to the county for indigent burials. And so I personally believe that this board has really tried to figure out a way so that we don't stop what's happening right now. It's just something that the county can't do. But we want it to continue because we don't want anybody to have a loved one buried there and somebody say, well, you can't be buried next to him.
Or you can't go to that
that's
grave. You
horrible.
can't go on that property.
I couldn't, I wouldn't sleep at night if I ever voted for something like that, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, it's, like I said, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look good, and
Well, that's why we're having this work session, to let y'all know that we won't
it to be back in the community's hands. Because if we have to keep it, we have to stipulate the rules to it.
And that's the law that we're under right
So
now.
the biggest issue that caused us to do this, Mr. Green, if you look right there where it says GPR June 2024, which is outside of this little white marks outside of the road, and you'll see the property line, and this is Jones County landfill. And you'll see there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 10 or 12 burials that are actually in the landfill.
30.
Yeah, 30 of them that have to be moved, but 10 of them, or 10 or 12 in that one spot right there.
Those little X's?
Yeah, that says GPR June 2024. Those were identified from a ground penetrating radar machine that shows that there were people actually buried that the county didn't know anything about in a landfill where the state and the EPA says that can't happen.
Well, you know, I can't think of his name. He told us that we only saw 300 graves. He said his experience was that you was gonna have graves everywhere.
Right.
He told us that before he
But
did.
now the state's telling us, county, you own the property. This is your problem, and now we have to move these graves somewhere. We don't know who they are, unidentified, who their family is, and we weren't contacted before they buried them. Had we contacted them, we'd have said, wait a minute, you're way over the property line. You need to move back over this way to bury them, not in a landfill. And the bad part of that is somebody, whoever those people are, unknown, somebody's family probably don't know that they're buried in a
I
landfill
concur,
that is not good.
Can I show that? Okay, so if y'all see where that line jots out
Yeah.
right there, see where on here where the line jots out? Just imagine drawing that straight line here and this straight line here and join them together straight, and those are all of the graves that are in the landfill.
Almost those
Okay.
first 2 rows.
Right. The first back row.
See
Yeah,
that?
first two rows,
See
you
how
go from the
that
back.
top line is straight and the bottom line down here, he's gotten out a little too far.
Can you point that out for him, Sam?
Yeah.
Look,
He's trying to, he's fixing to draw on it.
So basically, if you come from that point, I got you.
Yeah, all of those
They can't
graves
see
right
you
through
over here.
there
Yeah.
are
They can
considered
see them
in
on
the
that one,
land.
now the red one on all of them. But those graves are technically in the landfill.
And what is terrible is those are relatively new, so
They all go to the,
whomever
yeah,
okay.
went out there, those are new graves that they decided to place there in the landfill.
a lot of
And Mr. Green, I'm gonna tell you this, I worked with several funeral homes because I was over cemeteries in Bibb County for a while. Every funeral home knows there's 2 different types of burials. Pauper's burial, that you go to the county and you get a permit to bury somebody and there's no cost to it. Traditional burial where you work with the deceased family
And funeral.
for payment.
Yeah.
So they know, every one of them knew there's a process to bury somebody in that property. You don't just go out there with a backhoe and dig a hole and bury people.
But I think that's what's been,
That's-
that was passed down.
Yeah, and that's what's happened,
Yeah.
and we didn't know it, and probably a lot of people in here didn't
Didn't
know
know,
it. I
didn't
think
know it.
that's probably part.
That ain't true. I worked up there, that part was open when Cody Lovejoy was down there. So they
I'm not
decided
saying
to
this
break-
commissioners didn't know, I'm saying this board, I didn't know it.
No, you did, but the farmer board did. You need to talk to Butch Moore, and, I know you can't talk to Ike Lister, but that part was open. And they did not bury them, they did not bury there until they got permission from Public Works, and they would go down there and approve the spot before they put a grave, a body down there.
She worked with funeral home.
I worked up in the county.
Yeah, yeah. That's why you did.
Yeah, working on Miss Charlotte Wilson. That's
Sure.
that's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
what I just said. Ike Lister, Butch Moore, I was up on all of them, Virginia. And they never buried down there unless they call you to see, and you had to meet him down there, and he approved your spot. And all them graves that you're saying is illegal, they approved them spots. But that part was open while I was working up there.
now we have to do what's right because we got EPA telling us that this has to happen. And the fact that they're sitting on the landfill, it's, they got,
And it's done to this day. I mean.
Yeah, but it's got to be repaired. We got to fix it so we can go forward and do it by the book. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we have you here. How can we do this? Is it something that y'all want to pick up? I mean, we want to preserve this, because I don't mind telling you, I could probably go through and show you right now 12 to 15 people I know personally that work for me. I work side by side with, who's like family of mine, sitting there right now. Foy Simmons is sitting in there. Freddie Pitts is sitting there. I just start going through and naming them all that used to actually work side by side with me. And when I saw the gravestone, it just brought back memories. But we want to preserve that, but we've got to fix what we've got. I mean, we spent a lot of money to make it. I think y'all agree. It's clearing it out, identifying everything, getting all the trash up. It's something you can do something with now. Whoever, you know.
I'm gonna give, so I'm not getting the answer that,
Okay, young lady in the back, you want to come?
She's the one that's got most of the history of the grave.
There's just one quick question.
Yeah, just introduce yourself for the record, so we've got it.
Deborah Daniel Purnell. I have heard what you have said. My question is, he talked about the law. Is there any way I can get a copy of that law? I just need a copy.
Of what?
The gratuity law.
Oh, it's gratuities clause. I mean, just Google it.
Yeah.
It's
If
very
you,
clear.
if you don't have
I
a
mean-
computer and all that stuff, you can't Google it.
Okay.
I just need
I mean,
a
if y'all
copy,
wanna pay me
a
to
handwritten
give her-
copy.
Whatever.
We can print.
Handwritten copy.
Shannon can, well, I'm not gonna write it out, but she
I
can
didn't say
print it
written
out.
out, print it, whatever.
Yeah.
A copy that he was just saying
You
about
heard
the
her,
law
it's
that we are
gratu-
violating.
It's their gratuities clause.
A law that's being violated that
Right.
Kitchens mentioned.
Right, so
I
the
just need a copy.
okay, we'll get
That's
that
all.
for you. Yeah, we'll get the letter the EPA wrote saying that you can't bury in a landfill.
EPA?
Pretty easy one.
EPA,
Yes.
they made the law.
No, not that law, where all of those graves were buried in the landfill. They made that law that we can't bury in the landfill.
They made the law.
Yeah, we're
That's the
not-
law on the
The
landfill.
landfill was there for a
Those 30
landfill, not
graves.
burials. And we're trying to get the EPA to sign off on the landfill so that, and this is one thing's got to be, we've got to move the graves.
Yeah, I'm kind of slow. What EPA stands for?
It's the people who,
Environmental Protection Division.
What
the
does
other
it
ones
stand
over
for?
the, you know, the dump used to be? They regulate, there's a state agency that, and, or federal agency that regulates it where the landfill used to be.
I understand what you're saying.
Environmental
What?
Protection Agency.
Environmental Protection Agency. Okay, so they made the law. They made the law.
No, they didn't do,
Not gratuity.
not gratuity. They're telling us that those right graves cannot be on the landfill. The landfill was for trash, not burial. Does that,
Oh, he was talking about that had to charge for people.
Yeah.
There's two different laws.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
It's
about.
two different things.
Multiple issues.
Yeah. they're
Yeah,
good.
multiple issues. I just need all of the laws that you're referring to. That's what I need.
Well,
Yeah, the ones about paying and all of that. I just need a copy of all of those laws
Okay.
that you were referring to. Okay, that's what I just need, a copy.
Commissioner Martin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do.
David, I'll give you,
I got one thing.
go ahead.
Oh, no, let them come up, yeah.
Tough, come
I
forward.
got one. Go ahead and let David
Okay,
come
I'm
up,
sorry.
then I'll have something in there.
David Tufts.
Yes, sir.
I know that you all got laws that you got to deal with, and people still gonna be dying. They're gonna need a place to be buried. And if there's any kind of situation, like an organization or someone that come in and say, hey, I've got the money, I'll purchase the property, and we'll handle it that way. Can that be done?
That's why
Yes,
we're here
that's what we're
today.
here to do. That's
Okay,
what
as I
we're
said, if the
saying.
community wants to come together, if the churches want to come together and say, we'd like to put together, you know, this is, I'm one of five, so I envision the churches coming together. Say, we want to take this, the cemetery and preserve it and keep, that way we can do it correctly as far as not violating the gratuity clause. We've already spent a ton of money, No telling. You know, you see all the work we've done to clean that place up. You can actually go out there and find graves that, you know, at one time you can't. But that needs to be preserved. And if a group wants to come together, say, you know, we'd like to come together as a group and do this, so all the loved ones can come in, y'all can, your group can run it. We just need a RFP. Jason, what all do we need? I think you,
It's for auction or sale bid.
right, it's gonna be a sealed bid, but it's still, that's,
So, you know, what it would be helpful to hear, I think, is what factors interested groups want included in that, and what factors the board wants included in that. You know, you can tailor that document a number of different ways. I know earlier we were talking about burial plot amounts. You know, if you wanted to include something relative to that, you could do that. If you wanted to have the proposal address how they would deal with situations where you've got a loved one buried there and you know, a relative dies. You know, you could structure you could build all that into the RFP. And so I think it's good to hear what pieces of this are important to the community, to the board, so that we can write that in the best way possible.
If we can get something like that done and try to get a group together to look at it, to see what we can do.
that's why we're here. I would.
That was our hope.
I would personally love to see it preserved here at home.
I would hate for us
With
to sell to
with the loved ones
a
here at home.
business, you know?
I mean, but I'm one person, but that's how I envision it. Commissioner Martin, you got a comment?
We'll let him go and then, if he's done.
Yes, I do, yes. Sir, if it wasn't a given, why would you be trying to sell it?
If it what?
If you didn't buy it, why would you be trying to sell it?
It's not so much selling it, it's how we have to dispose of property as a county. When
No,
we-
no, not that. If you're trying to transfer the cemetery, the place where the cemetery was not bought, it was given.
For a purpose.
If you're trying to get it out of the county's name, why would you be selling it when it was not given? It was not sold to you.
So,
And I think sale is the, what if we sold it for $1? There has to be a sale for us to get it. So what if it was for $1?
Yeah, I was gonna say, $1 will,
It's not a valid sale, but it is a sale.
It is a sale.
Yeah, I understand that. From my appropriate.
Commissioner Martin, you wanna make a comment while I'm there?
yeah,
I'll get you, John.
Yeah, gotcha.
Hold on, I got two
Yeah.
commissioners and I'm gonna go back to the crowd.
so. Yes. So, yeah. At the end of the day, the county wants to transfer this property, hopefully, to a group of churches. If it's Mount Salem, if it's New Damascus, if it's St. Paul, and it's a group, that would be great. Then you all can decide how you want to manage the Paupers Cemetery as it was designed to be. Right now, according to our county attorney and the law, you're not supposed to bury a body in the cemetery. We know that bodies have been buried in the cemetery. By law, if we know it, we shouldn't be doing it as a county. We also know that people that have means, have money, the ability to pay for their own burial are being buried there. And all of that is wrong from the county side. If you all manage that process and you abide by the pauper's law, At the end of the day, you can decide what to do. You never have to call the county again to bury your loved one. There wouldn't be an issue of my grandma's buried there, my grandpa wants to be buried here, and my uncle or cousin wants to be buried there, because you all would make that decision. I think that's a good idea. In fact, like the chairman said, that's our heart. We'd favor that. I don't want it to be confused that we want to sell you or charge you for the cemetery, but we have to, even if it's for $1, dispose of the property in that manner. If you've ever worked for the government, right, you go on govdeals.com, and that's how we surplus our property. The sheriff has to surplus property that he has taken, and in this case, the property was given to the county. We just can't give it away. We would like to. So if it was sold for $1, and the churches agreed to buy it for $1, and you managed it, great. I think all hearts would be easy. You would probably have to think about how you manage that process, and that's probably the scary part. I don't know how to manage a cemetery. I don't want to be in the cemetery business. And I know, I think I can speak for most of us, that we probably don't want to manage that either. I feel sorry for Jason. He's got to figure out how to move 30 bodies. But in the essence of doing what's right by this county, I think we all need to get together to talk about what that RFP looks like, because you should have input in how the cemetery operates and how you want it to transition. You're taxpayers of this county. Absolutely. And we want to do what's right at the end of the day. This is not a profit business. This is not something that we're going to make money off of, I promise you, because we've invested in it to get it to this point so that somebody could take it over. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Eda Pitts. I just want to correct one thing. You all keep saying that it's bodies down there that you know. How you know that? Because I know for a fact that it has been bodies buried down there that were paupers. It was just the community got together, raised money, and paid for it. But I want correct another thing. You're saying the funeral homes are charging the buried down there.
I never said
No,
that.
sir.
We don't
That's
know
not
that.
that's not correct.
I never
But you
said
said
that.
it.
I never said
That's
that.
not correct either.
I never
We
said that.
asked. We called, like when I was working up here, they called and the county would go down there and let them. They don't charge a fee to bury down there, but now it is a fact that a vault company is not going to put a vault down there for free. So the vault company get paid, but the funeral home doesn't get paid.
I don't know
So
anything.
that's a correction that need to be made, not the funeral home, because it keeps saying the funeral home is charging. We don't.
Well, I've
You
got
know.
you. I'm just curious, what's your thoughts about the community churches?
It's a good thing. It's a good
That's
thing.
what we're trying to get at. I
Yeah.
hope y'all realize that. I mean, we, as Commissioner Martin says, just give full control to the community.
But that new part was opened up by the county, and those graves were approved by the county.
Well, we've got a problem because,
Yeah.
like I said, now EPA's, I mean, because
Yeah.
they were put in the landfill, they're having to be moved.
Yeah.
And
But
am I correct when I say it's 1990 that we said no more burials? And that was right after Lovejoy was dismissed, but that's when Lovejoy left. So,
okay, if you said no burials, I personally work at a funeral home, and every time we put one down there, we call Public Works, and they approved it. So
There's a disconnect between Public
Yeah.
Works and this
yeah.
board, right?
So I'm
We
just
know
saying,
that.
it needs to be corrected. Don't say they put, because now it has been. Now I know for a fact it's some funeral home from Macon that's come out here and put something out there. I don't know how they got it in there, but the ones out here.
and
We
that's
have
why, I
problems.
mean, you truly, Miss Daniel, she's got great records of who's buried there. You've already got somebody in a group that knows a lot of the history about this cemetery.
Yeah.
Y'all know more than we know sitting up here about this cemetery.
I got two uncles down there.
Exactly. Only person I know is Mr. Curtis, you know?
I'm from Connecticut. I don't know anything.
And I got an uncle that fell dead. And he didn't have any insurance.
Right.
And it took two sisters getting together to have him buried, but, you know, so.
I'm gonna get Commissioner Wood to say something. and
Sure.
Ms. Bland, I'm gonna let you come forward. I saw your hand come up.
I've been listening to all this, and I've been down there many times looking at it, and I've looked over the area of what they call the new burials that are over the line. My question is that section of 30-some-odd burials there, is that in an active area of the landfill that was, is there, unfortunately, would there be trash under those individuals? Or is that an area that's in what we call a buffer zone? Could we move that property line over? I don't like moving bodies. I like to let them rest in peace. But can that property line be moved over in a straightforward fashion so those individuals can rest in peace? Because every dollar we spend on this cemetery is an investment of doing what's right.
Sure.
And I think that would be a good
There's got
petition for
to be a
us.
good compromise with EPD, the state, landfill, whoever the people are. There's got to be a good compromise so these people do not have to be moved, and they're already buried. But if we could, the group of churches in the county, whoever it is, if it's 2 or if it's 10 or if it's 20, how many ever come together, set up a foundation, set up an association, set up something that is going to be perpetual from now on. That way everybody there is going to be taken care of, everybody future burials will be taken care of. That way it's just, people that ain't even born yet can do the right things in the future for people already there in that area. And that's, at the end of the day, we want to do what's right, like Commissioner Martin said.
And in a request for proposal, in an RFP, in that we could write it up any way we want to write it up. If we want to write it up that we are looking for churches from the community to gather together to take over for a amount of whatever and get y'all's input, we could write that RFP exactly wording for be able to pass on what y'all are buying it for.
Could y'all do that? Could y'all do that?
An RFP to
And allow-
be worded a certain way that
I mean,
only,
yes and no. You can't limit it to where there can only be sort of one person that can bid on it, because that would be.
I mean, but you all would make the decision on who you would accept as far as the bid is concerned,
This
right?
board would review the proposals and make a decision on which one to
Yeah.
accept.
Yeah, and our proposal would be what's in the best interest of
Interest
the
of-
county.
Okay.
So the citizens of the county. So, and I'll give you a scenario. Somebody come and says, I'll buy that piece of property for $10,000 because I can flip it tomorrow and sell it for 20. And a group of churches come in and say, no, we want to preserve the history and the honor of that cemetery and have it forever and ever, ever for people that are buried there. I would look at that and go, that's a no-brainer. The money is not the biggest interest of what's best for this county. It is the
So
perpetuity
it would be
of the county.
what your hearts are saying, that, hey, it
Yeah, the
was,
proposal, they don't have to accept a proposal just
Right.
because it's the most money.
Right,
for
right,
the property.
right. So-
They can accept the proposal that they believe is in the best use of the property, yes.
so if we had something from you all that we could go by,
Well, there will
The-
be
if-
language in the
Yeah, right.
proposal that's sent out for people to
Yeah.
respond to.
and it would make it a lot easier for all of us to make decisions, I think, with
I mean, we can't send out to people exactly how they need to respond. That's also a violation.
But y'all could come up there and say, we've got this many churches that are wanting to come forward and take over the operation of this to preserve the cemetery. And like I said before, keep it within the community, just like Mr. Kitchen said. Well, there'll be people come up there, if I can get this for 10,000 and flip it for that, no, that ain't, we're after what's good for the community. And what's good for this community is us preserving this, so that your loved ones, you can be buried by your loved ones and all, but,
I mean, if there's a group of churches who intends to submit a proposal, really that group of churches need to get together and form a committee on how it's going to be maintained, how you're going to determine who gets buried where. Because I know there's one lady with her husband there, well, she's gonna want a certain spot, so how are you all going to handle that? And those would be the things that you would present to us in the proposal.
How would you
to
reserve
say,
spots such as
Right,
that
we've got-
situation?
This is how we're going to operate it, so that the board knows, okay, when they sell it, I'm not talking about it's being sold for, you know, a substantial amount of money. It has to be sold for something, that's already been mentioned. That you all have it under control to be able to operate.
And Mr. Tubbs, I think that was the whole intent of this work session, was to relay to the public our intent of preserving the cemetery out of the hands of the county, but allow for feedback from the public too of what's the best way to get there. And just this information exchange that we're doing now of when we put out for an RFP, if the churches, if that were the group that wanted to do it, they would be able to come back and say, we want to keep it preserved as it is, we want to maintain it, we want to be able to operate it and honor the people that are buried there forever and ever. That's the best case scenario for the county, best case. And that's what we want. And that was the whole purpose of this work session, was to get that information out to the public and get feedback from the public, from the people just like y'all that care about and have people, that loved ones that are buried there.
Okay.
Can I say this too, Chairman? Like, we don't have a document that's ready to go out, you know, in the next week or month or anything. So there's time to put a group together and talk through how it would all work before we actually send out an RFP.
But
So
we got time for, I mean, if we need to have another work session, I don't have no problem doing that. Y'all get together, get together with all the different churches. Ms. Bland, did you want to?
Well, you just about said everything I wanted to say, because the problem I was having was, we had to move 30 graves to qualify the landfill, right?
Well, that's still this board. If we're gonna have to get with our code enforcement lady to get
With the EPD.
with the EPD,
Right.
because that's the holdup, because we're in the process of getting that landfill released. But that's holding us up. Now, we're gonna have to get with our code enforcement lady, and I'm like Commissioner Wood. It would make a lot more sense to put that fence around those and just preserve it.
Right,
But then we got a higher
upset
power
'em.
above us
right.
that we have to answer to, and that's EP, I hate to say this, but EPD says they have to be moved for us to sit there and sign off on the landfill. Because at one point, we have to get the landfill signed off, the county does. And that's what we're having to do right now.
So if a different entity would take over, they would face that same situation that you're referring to right now,
If we,
as far as trying to,
if we couldn't move it.
if you couldn't move
If
it.
we can move the line, it's simple.
Oh,
We take a fence.
Or we
and-
can move the line.
If we
Yeah.
can.
If we can move
Yeah,
the
but
line,
right
that
now,
would be best.
It's a
Move it.
line that shows,
Right. It'd be better to move the line, not move the bodies.
right.
Right.
If
Right.
that can.
If that can be
If
done.
it
That
would do,
can
but
be
you
approved.
notice there's a straight line, if you go from where the circle is,
Right.
from that top circle, you can't see the bottom because it's in the bottom.
Jason, can you zoom out?
Zoom
Just
out a little bit.
There
See
you go.
that next pin way back there where it says 24?
Right.
If you draw a line from the top, take that loop out and draw a straight line across there, that's how much into the landfill we are right now.
Okay.
And that's the property line for the landfill. If you draw a straight line through, that's the actual landfill border. That is governed by EPD, or, I mean, I get them confused, they're all pretty much one and the same. But, that's what we're governed by.
Right.
And that
Well, I
was-
was on the same page with Brother Wood here, because we are concerned with the loved one being buried by their loved one. And
Being resilient.
if it was legal for us to move the line, we can do just about anything we want to do in our county. And just like you were saying, this organization that you were referring to, if they gave us approval, but if we wanted to, legally, we could do that. If we had to go through Ashley, Miss Brody, she could find a way so that we can move that line and incorporate it.
Right. If possible.
You've got a lot of faith in you.
A lot of faith.
Yeah, well, this is actually our code enforcement lady that handles EPD, but I just got a question, isn't Rubub out there?
What was that?
Isn't Rubub out there? Reuben?
No, I have no relatives out there.
Oh, okay.
have
Weren't
no
you related to Reuben?
Reuben Bland,
Yeah.
that's my brother. I'm the
Rhubarb.
oldest. He's
Rubub.
Rubuck, he's
You know,
next to
he
me.
worked for me for years.
Right.
Wasn't he out, isn't he out?
No,
there?
he's not.
Okay,
He's at Damascus Baptist Church.
okay, all right. Because he was one of them I look for, because he had such a special place in my heart, too.
Right.
It
But I
brought
tell
back
you,
a lot of memories looking at all
mine
that.
too.
Yeah.
But you know, just want to do what's right. And I appreciate what you're saying there.
And we do
Thank you.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, come forward. How you doing this evening?
My name is Ruby Toles. And I've been meeting every time you could call a meeting. My husband was buried last year down at the stake. And he was put there because of his daddy, mama, sister, brother, aunt, and everybody. So we didn't go down there just because it was free. And I'm not asking for nothing free. But if the thing of my thoughts are, if the county own it and whatever, give us a price. Let us know what the price is to get there. Because I'm not here for no handout.
Sure.
And I know he could have been buried wherever he wanted, and if he decided to go to the state, but my choice was somewhere else, but I did what he asked me to do. And if I have to go, I think, and I pray my boys send me to my church cemetery. But however it is, we wasn't putting him down there just because it was an open place for free. And since he's been there, we have been down there trying to work and tend to it. So if you all give us a price, or however it's gonna be, if the churches get it for a price, let the people know, so you know where you're going.
Sure.
And be ready, because everybody got to die, and you got to be buried somewhere.
Your whole family, y'all got a whole area there. On cover.
Everything in his family is down there.
The whole area.
Yep. But, like I say, it wasn't because they couldn't pay. It just, the old tradition.
Sure.
Family, 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 family.
Okay. Anything else? Real quick, and we're gonna try to give ourselves about a 5-minute break between open meetings.
I just wanted to follow up.
Sure.
You know, I talked about those laws, and I just wanted to, I didn't give my information as far as how I could get those. If any way possible, if I could pick them up by Friday, that would be good.
Sure.
I could just come here. That's
Sure,
all I want to
absolutely.
say. Thank you.
If I can we get a
Can I have a motion to,
adjourn?
adjourn? Yeah.
We have a second. All in favor, aye? Aye. All right, give us about a 5-minute break before we go into open meeting.